Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Sethum and welcome back to another video guide for Ark Survival Evolved. Today in this video, folks, I'm going to be showing you how to tame the Carnotaurus. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please do not forget to support me in the channel by hitting that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new and haven't already for more similar content from myself, and if you have just subscribed, why not check out some of my other videos and guides here on this channel. Who knows, you might just enjoy them. And of course, don't forget to hit that bell icon so that you get notified when I upload new videos and content here on the channel. Also, for those interested, you can always find me on the Setopia Discord. Links to this, of course, you can find down below in the video's description as well as in a pinned comment. So the Carnotaurus is, I would say, one of the earlier carnivores that you can tame. It is still pretty dangerous, and for this video I will be taming a 150 Carnotaurus. Now obviously, as with all of the dangerous tames, I generally prefer to use a pitfall trap, which is what we will be going through in this particular video. So let's get into the meat of stuff. Let's see what we're going to need. So obviously for this, I'm going to be using wooden structures, and we're going to use wooden foundations, walls, and ramps. Now you can try using the door frames. However, I've noticed that there is a bug where the Carnotaurus can pretty much get through the door frames, so that is pretty much useless. If you could use the door frames without the Carnotaurus glitching through, you can definitely then use that as a way of kiting it on foot. Until then, obviously that's not a thing. In terms of kibble, it prefers the regular kibble, and in order to ride it, you will need to craft a Carnotaurus saddle, which you can learn at level 46. Here are the materials that you will need in order to craft this particular saddle. Now the Carnotaurus in itself is a pretty good dino to have when you're starting out in the game. So let's get into the trap. The trap is going to be fairly similar, and obviously in order to economize on material, it will be a 1x2 trap, meaning that there is a bit of a strategy with regard to kiting it. You can craft it out of stone or metal, but wood is the cheapest material that you can craft it out of. Of course, the wood will take damage from the Carnotaurus, but not enough to break until it has been knocked out. Once you place down the two foundations in a line, then we'll go with 2 walls tall, and that is pretty much the pitfall trap. But obviously it isn't a pitfall trap if it cannot get in, so we'll need to place some ramps from the areas that we will be kiting it, or better said, from the direction from which we will possibly be kiting it. Now, as this is a 1x2 trap, there is a chance that the Carnotaurus can snag on the other side of the trap when it's chasing you, so there is a bit of strategy involved in this. Now obviously you can make it a 2x2, but that just involves more materials. So here we are, we have a Carnotaurus. Of course, for this I'm going to be using a wyvern. You can use any creature, land or flyer, that can get over the gap. That is the purpose of that. You want yourself to get over the gap, and obviously because I'm using a wyvern, it will not aggro on the wyvern, so to aggro it you need to dismount and remount the wyvern whilst you are close to the Carnotaurus. So I'm going to be running up the ramp with the wyvern, and then all the way to the other side. As you can see, the wyvern does not fall in, and the Carnotaurus will have a tendency not to fall in because it is chasing you. So you want to use your creature's body to create a barrier so that it bumps into you and falls in the trap. Once it's in, you can then start tranking it. Now I am doing this off the back of the wyvern, but if you are using another creature such as, for example, an Argentavis, a Tapahara, or a Thylo, for example, these are all viable creatures that you can kite this particular carnivore into the trap with. You can just do it off the ground. I'm going to show you both methods. Now I prefer doing it off the wyvern because I have access to it, and whilst I am mounted on the wyvern, there are fewer hostile creatures that can complicate my tranking. So I won't have to deal with raptors, I won't have to deal with other nasties on the ground. Now obviously, as you can see, this trap does not have many windows, and it is pretty much almost as tall as the Carnotaurus itself, but it is not necessarily difficult to trank, even if the Carnotaurus does move around, which it will do. And of course, as I said, it will do damage to the trap itself. But fear not, as long as you continue tranking it, it should go down before it actually destroys anything, as it does not do necessarily a lot of damage. Now as you see here, it has turned around, so I'm just going to aim for the tail. I can still see it. Now if this is not good enough, I can always get off the wyvern and just move around the trap so that I get access to whatever body part of the Carnotaurus is sticking out of the trap and trank it that way. Sometimes, as you will see or have seen, the darts connect with the Carnotaurus but do not actually do damage, and so therefore they don't apply torpor. As you can see, the Carnotaurus now is not focusing on the trap, and that was because its torpor was high. Now it's fallen, it's knocked out, but I cannot access its inventory from the outside. I will have to go inside the trap in order to do that, and so I'm going to take one of the Tame XLs. So obviously for this I will be using a mod to tame it quickly. However, on official servers you will have to wait. I strongly recommend that you use the starving technique, so that means you wait for the Carnotaurus to starve out before you put in the kibble, so you do not waste the kibble if you are after a perfect tame. For this, I suggest using Dododex. It is an amazing app in which you can introduce the details of the tame, and it'll tell you how long it will take to starve it. It will also tell you how much narcotics you will need to keep this creature knocked out, as you do need to keep it knocked out for the process of starving stroke taming. Also, this app is available both for Android as well as Apple. So definitely an app worth having, and it does have all the creatures as well as other interesting information such as breeding information and stuff like that. So definitely your best friend in terms of app for this particular game. Once you have tamed out the Carnotaurus, you can destroy the trap if it's not in a region where Carnotauruses regularly spawn. If this is a one-off, you can destroy it and recover some of the materials. If you want to get more materials back, then I suggest destroying it from the outside, starting with the ramps, then the walls, then the foundations. If you're not bothered about recovering materials, just destroy the foundations and everything will fall with it. Now, I did that because my Carno was nearly tamed, and I don't know what's going on here. I seem to be pushed by something, so that was a bit glitchy. First time this has ever happened. And there we have it. We have our Carnotaurus. Now do make sure that you remove the kibble out of the Carno's inventory, as it will consume it. In terms of attacks, the Carnotaurus does have two attacks. One is a headbutt, the other one is a bite. The headbutt, of course, does do some knockback, as does the bite, but the headbutt does significantly more knockback. And of course, here are the stats of my 150 perfect tame Carnotaurus, just so you guys get an idea of what you will get once you have tamed this particular creature. Now, of course, the stats that I showed in this video are just random, and you can get varying numbers in the stats. This was just to give you guys an idea of what to expect when taming a Carnotaurus. Now, obviously, this is kind of a mid-range carnivore. It's not necessarily one of the best, but it does look freaking amazing. So with that being said and done, that is it for this video, folks. I do hope that you have enjoyed it and found it useful and informative. If you have, please do not forget to support me on the channel by hitting that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already for more similar content from myself. And if you have just subscribed, why not check out some of my other videos and content here on this channel? Who knows, you might just enjoy them. And don't forget to hit that bell icon so that you get notified when I upload new videos and content to the channel. Also, for those interested, you can always find me on the Sethtopia Discord. Links to this you can find down below in the video's description, as well as in a pinned comment from myself. Until next time, stay safe, folks.